We're on.
Yep. Welcome back, everybody, to Focus on You with Phil and Oscar. Of course, we now have Chris Januski on here with us, and it is great to have you back, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Phil. I appreciate it.
Man, it's always great having you on. So we're planning to talk about a special subject today, and I think everyone will be interested in knowing that Chris is a property insurance agent, and he has a great amount of information on what you should be looking for as far as insurance goes for your property. And so I'm going to give you a couple seconds, Chris. Just tell the folks a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks again for having me, Phil. So I'm a property and casualty insurance agent and the broker licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. On the personal side, we write home, auto, umbrella, renters insurance, condos, co-ops, and then special events. For commercial insurance, we can do business owners policy, general liability, commercial property, crime, workers' comp, disability, basically anything, any insurance policy you need for business, we can cover that too in those 3 states.
Awesome. That's
great. Many talents.
A man of many talents. And that's what we just love about having people on this program. We get a few professionals here on the line, like Oscar loves to say, listen to the professionals because they have actually done some work.
I like to say, save money, hire a professional.
Absolutely. So we're talking about renters insurance today. Chris, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. So renters insurance, there's for any homeowners or renters policy, there's really 2 aspects that you're looking at. It's the property aspect of it, the stuff that you own, and then the liability aspect of it is if somebody were to sue you, your insurance policy covers you for anything you were liable for. So today we're going to talk about renters insurance. It's one of those coverages that prior to being in the insurance industry, I just assumed my landlord, their insurance policy covered everything. If anything happened, they have insurance, they would cover my stuff. So I learned quickly that that's not true. Basically, anything inside the apartment or the house that you rent is not the landlord's responsibility, it's the tenant's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So in Yonkers, it's always devastating and sad to see we've had 3 big fires in the last 3 years, talking about almost entire apartment buildings being burned to the ground. And you hear them on the news the next day and they're like, oh, the Red Cross came and now there's 40 families staying in a Red Cross shelter. And as an insurance agent, I'm glad the Red Cross is there, but for as little as like $200 a year, those tenants could have an insurance policy where they're now staying in a hotel and their insurance policy is paying for that cost. And the insurance policy is going to replace everything that they just lost. Don't get me wrong, the Red Cross has a place and it's great that they're there, but being able to have everything replaced, without any questions, that being able to sleep and be comfortable when everything else is wrong, that's what that coverage is there for. So I'd like to talk a little about renters insurance, what it does for you. and yeah, why you really need it. So on the property side of things, so the policy is going to cover everything you own inside the apartment, right? So it's you're talking about your furniture, you're talking about all of your, and you look at the kitchen, all of your plates, dishes, pots and pans, all the stuff that you own that it might cost you go to the store and you buy it, it's a couple $100, but then you step back and you look at everything that you own and it's thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. So how do you figure out because it's been probably a few years to accumulate all that. So how do you figure out what you have and how much you should have for insurance coverage for your property? And I can put the link in later, but there's essentially what you want to do is create a home inventory. And there's a couple things. Start with either it's kind of redundant, but you want to do a video and pictures. So the pictures, what you're going to be able to do is go and look at a room, do like a one wide shot of the room, and then go into every large item. Make sure you get the serial number, the model number for it. In the kitchen, if you have expensive dishes, make sure that you get a picture of who the manufacturer is. What type of, if it's some crystal that you have, you want to make sure that that's actually documented properly. And it's then you get into the bedroom, and if you go through your closet and you just take a look at it, you figure on average it's about $40 for a pair of jeans, and you don't have to go through and itemize everything, but I open my closet door, I'm like, okay, I have 5 pairs of jeans, I've got 5 pairs of slacks, and I've got 10 button-up shirts. And you look at all those and you're like, wow, that's a lot of money just right there. And then you're like, oh, what about all the undergarments? What about the dresser that everything's actually in? So starting with the photos, and the photos of like a photo of your closet, a photo of the dresser with the drawers open, just get an idea of what you have. And then also, because you're with the photos, you're just focusing on that one thing. To back yourself up, I recommend also going through and doing a video of everything you just photographed individually, because sometimes there's something that you didn't really get a close-up shot with that photo, but the video catches it in the background, and God forbid there's a claim, it's easier to watch the video, and then you're like, oh, there was that and that, and it might not be as specific as the individual pictures, but you'll be able to have that photographic or video evidence of what you did own prior to your loss.
So basically what you're saying is I can't just say, well, I owned a Maserati and I accidentally parked it in my living room and it got caught in the fire. I mean, I can't claim that.
That's correct. Yeah, short answer. Yeah, that's correct. So when it comes to personal property, it's easier. There's going to be some remnants of whatever you did own. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to file a claim and for the claims adjuster if you have some type of evidence of what you did own prior to the loss. And the biggest one that we're talking about is fire damage, right? If a fire comes through and everything's lost, it's really hard to be like, well, what were all those ashes? So having this document. Now, when you have it, you want to make sure that it's stored off-site also, right? So it's either a cloud backup. If you're doing a paper list, make sure that it's stored off-site, or you have a fire safe where this is stored with valuable documents. So starting with the property coverage, that's a good idea of how to figure out what you have. I'm just going to read a couple things here that my inventory list has. Any recent purchases, make sure you have them documented. Like I say with clothing, go by general category. So many pairs of jeans, shirts, whatever. The serial numbers are big. If you have something that's stored off-site, for instance, you have a storage locker, or you have some type of off-site storage, make sure you include that too, because your homeowners or renters insurance actually extends. It's not as much as the actual policy, but you do have coverage for items off-site. So if you got something in a storage unit somewhere, make sure that it's documented also. And it's really easy to get overwhelmed, right? This sounds like a lot, and you start thinking about, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. As long as you have something, it's better than nothing. If you really want to get into the weeds, that'll help out a lot. But just have something to document what you own. And also there are apps available. They're free to download. I went through I used an Android phone. I went through the Play Store and just said home inventory app, and there's probably 5 or 6 right there. And they're free. I don't know. I can't really endorse one over the other, but there's a lot out there, and you can Google it and check for reviews and see what's available that you might be interested in.
Yeah, I know that there are some available online. One is What You Own. That's an inventory software, but it's a paid site. So yeah, I wanted to know if there were free ones that are available to us, again, through an app download.
There are, yeah. So Apple and Android, they both have them. Obviously, if it's free, you're going to get ads with it. The only, if it's free, just, I don't know about the security. If you're taking pictures of everything you own, that's just something to keep in mind, that if an app has access to that, who else has access to it? It's just something to keep in mind. All right. So in terms of property coverage, that's what you're looking at. Now there's something, there's limits within the policy. Let's say you write your policy, you're like, all right, well, $20,000 should cover everything I have. $20,000, we're good. There's limits within that $20,000. So for instance, for jewelry, if it's not itemized, if you don't have it specifically listed, you're limited like $1,500 for theft.
Wow.
Right. So now that's specifically for theft. Let's say there was a fire and everything was destroyed, and you had documents for the jewelry. It could be covered under that. But if it's stolen, if it's not listed on your policy, $1,500 is a max. So silverware and dishes, that's $2,500. Firearms, $2,500. And this is just general. The policy can easily be increased, but those are the numbers that you're starting with. So when you get your policy, make sure you talk to your broker or your agent to make so that your policy reflects what you have, because it's only a couple dollars extra to add those on for the proper coverage.
Quick question: is there a difference loss if it's stolen or fire, or it's just qualified under loss?
No, it does matter how the loss occurred. So
right,
if you look at the policy, it specifically says these sublimits are for theft.
Got it.
And that's the coverage. But what if you don't have that? What if it's not that specific?
So if let's say you have a $10,000 ring and it's not listed, and a $10,000 ring is stolen, you have essentially zero coverage. They may give you the $1,500 if you have it documented, or the insurance company may deny the claim completely because it wasn't listed.
Wow. So what I'm saying is, basically, if you have any really expensive pieces of jewelry, even if you have fake jewelry, put it on there. Okay, and you spend $20 on it, put it on there.
And another thing with the jewelry is appraisals, right? Sometimes you inherit something and you're like, oh, this is going to be valuable. It's old. Old does not necessarily mean valuable. Sometimes people think they have something worth a lot more than what they do. So, and it doesn't make sense to over-insure at the same time. You don't want to pay for coverage that you're gonna pay for the face value that you think it's worth, and then the insurance company says that's not worth that. It's worth $500, and that's all we're gonna give you, regardless of how much you paid to have it covered for. So appraisals for jewelry, and typically an insurance company looks at appraisal. 10 years is what the timeline that they're looking on for value.
10 years,
right? So if you had it done within the last 10 years, it's pretty accurate. All right. So with coverage for your stuff also, there's a difference between replacement cost and actual cash value. So the typical policy starts with all of your personal property as actual cash value, which means that it depreciates. So if you buy a kitchen table and you paid $1,000 for it, and the kitchen table is now 10 years old, and there's a loss and you lose the table, if they include depreciation, you're not going to get $1,000 for it, and you're not going to get what it would cost to replace that table. They're going to take 10 years depreciation. So maybe that $1,000 table now, they're only going to give you $500.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get the policy endorsed or to change it for replacement cost for all of your personal belongings, meaning that if something happens, they're going to replace it with something like and new. So that $1,000 table, they're not going to consider depreciation. They'll pay you or replace it for something similar, brand new. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Okay,
Makes total
perfect.
sense. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think that sometimes people need to kind of hear somebody's story as far as when it comes to renters insurance. I mean, but and I know it's insurance separate from whether what your landlord has on the house, right?
Right.
I mean, your landlord could have property insurance, right?
Right.
But why, if the landlord has property insurance, shouldn't that cover stuff in my house?
So the landlord's policy is going to cover everything they own, and it's spelled out in your insurance any policy. The property covered has to be owned by the individual. So your landlord doesn't own anything inside your apartment. Also, if you have a roommate, your renter's insurance does not cover any of your roommate's possessions. It's only yours.
Everybody needs their own coverage.
Right. Now, I mean, if you can get written with under both names, let's say, obviously if somebody's married, but if they're engaged and they want to have both names on the same policy, the insurance companies will do that also. But if somebody's not listed, their belongings are not going to be covered by your insurance policy.
Wow.
So one thing is that you're talking about the house owner. I think the insurance policy of the landlord is to cover rebuilding the apartment if it burns down or the whole house.
Yeah. So here's a great example, right? So there's a flood, a pipe breaks in the bathroom, right? And the bathroom's on the second floor. All right. So the second floor gets flooded, and now the landlord's insurance is going to pay for all of the repairs to the building. Underneath that second floor was your bedroom or your closet, right? So the water actually came down, collapsed the ceiling, and now all of your stuff is damaged. Your insurance is going to cover all of your stuff that was damaged.
His insurance is going to cover putting the drywall back up on the ceiling of your closet.
Right.
Got it. So it's specific insurance. So people that are renters don't have to, find out the hard way. Oh yeah, I'm sure my landlord's got the home insured,
right,
but not your stuff.
Correct, 100%. So if we can switch gears, and I think, did you have any more questions about the property aspect of it?
No.
Phil?
I'm taking notes as I go.
All right.
But no, well, I mean, I had a question pertaining to, because I remember we talked about this before, but go a little bit into, if something should happen, do I get the original price I paid for my Gucci?
Right. So that's what the replacement cost versus the actual cash value. That's what I was talking about. If you get that endorsement down there for replacement cost, they're going to replace it with something like it, but brand new, something similar, maybe not the exact same.
So are you saying they're going to give me the Chinatown version?
No. They're going to pay. They're going to compare apples to apples for you, definitely.
Go
I
ahead.
saw those Gucci shoes. They're not worth that much.
I kind of figured as much. But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. So on the property aspect, the other thing that you're going to get, it's called loss of use. So let's say something happens and you can't stay in the apartment because it's being fixed because something happened. Your loss of use portion of the policy, which is completely separate limit, right? It's not like you get $20,000 for your stuff, and then to stay in an apartment that's part of that $20,000. It's a separate limit altogether that allows you to live somewhere else So go rent a hotel room to rent somewhere else while the repairs are being made of your primary residence. So sometimes when people see, oh, I've got $20,000 worth of coverage, they don't understand that there's actually a bunch of other coverages built into that policy. It's not just that 120,000.
Got you. Well, no, okay. This is a question that's totally offbeat. I was like, as you were talking, this question came into my mind.
Sure.
What if I was a business and I was renting?
Yes.
Okay. Is it the same factor with that?
I mean, it wouldn't be a renter, like a personal renter's insurance. It would be a business policy, and then you would have coverage for business personal property. So not the building, but anything the business owns within that building, that would be covered under your business personal property.
Okay. All right. One more question on the property and liability.
Yes.
Liability. What if I caused the fire or the flood in the apartment building? Is that?
No. So there's your liability coverage this is different from renters for a personal versus commercial. So on the personal side, you have liability insurance, right? This is going to cover any bodily injury or property damage that you or anybody in your family, including your kids, right? Because vicarious liability, if your kids are at fault, they can sue you because of what your children did. So as long as it's not intentional and there's property damage, your insurance policy, the liability aspect portion of it, can cover any of those losses. Okay. So that's what I want to talk about. So liability, right? A lot of people think slip and fall, right? Somebody's in your apartment, somebody's on your premises, they slip and fall and are injured. They sue you for bodily injury. That's what the bodily injury liability portion of your policy covers.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's an added liability feature that you can get, an endorsement. It's called personal injury. So we talked about bodily injury, right? So what is personal injury?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a physical damage. It's going to be false arrest, detention, imprisonment, malicious persecution, wrongful eviction, slander, libel, or invasion of privacy. So if somebody
invasion of privacy,
right? So if anybody were to sue you for any of those, your policy could provide coverage. Now, this is really important to keep in mind with social media nowadays, right? And especially when we talk about vicarious liability, we're just saying that you can be sued for what your children do.
Oh, wow.
Right. So if your children are on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they start saying a bunch of negative things about business, you can get sued.
Wow.
Right. So your renter's insurance policy could provide coverage for that.
This is getting complicated.
It is. Yeah. Insurance.
People should call you immediately.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Insurance. It's not something to joke about. Like it's something to make sure you're properly protected for what you have.
Damn. What other good news do you have for us, Chris?
Other good news. Let me see. I think that's overall that's what I want to cover. So the property and the liability aspect in renter's insurance, I think we covered just about everything, right? Make sure you have everything properly documented for the property you have. If it's jewelry or something highly valuable, make sure that's specifically listed on the policy. And then the liability aspect, make sure that, or replacement cost also for the property, make sure that if it's only a couple dollars extra a year to make sure that everything's going to be replaced as new. And then the the bodily injury, property damage liability, get the personal injury endorsement on there. Again, it's only a few dollars and it just helps you sleep better at night.
Yeah. And all, every insurance product, and what I've realized is there's two words: react and respond. And if you look at it in the medical terms, if the doctor says you're responding to the medication, that's good. If you say, well, you're reacting to the medication, that's bad. So having insurance, having this protection helps you respond and not react. Because if you're not ready and this happens, now you're scurrying around trying to find out what do I do? Where do I start?
Right.
What the hell just happened? There's no preparation. Where having at least a policy, if you're a renter, now you're able to respond. Okay, there was a flood upstairs. I lost everything. I know I have my insurance policy in a lockbox that did not get damaged.
Right.
And now I know that I am covered for everything that's in the closet, including the goofy shoes. I'm sorry, I mean the Gucci shoes that Phil Reid has.
I don't have Gucci shoes. Okay, just want to let you know.
I look closely. You thought it said Gucci. It's actually said Goofy.
No, it's actually a B that looks like a G, but it's one of those things there.
Yeah, bushy shoes. That's good.
I still have the receipt that says 500.
Right. I just like to comment real quick on what Oscar was saying, but that's the importance of having an insurance agent or a broker that you can call, because at the end of the day, I have all of my customers' policies. I have a copy of it. So let's say you lose everything and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? You call me. That's it. You call me. That's the importance of having the broker, the agent that you have that relationship with. When you call your agent, you're not just a number. You're not just somebody popping up on a computer screen. You're not on a dialer. You have that relationship where they say, oh my gosh, and they're there to support you and help you recover. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what the insurance agent's there for, right? Anybody can buy insurance. Is what's your agent do for you when something bad happens?
And,
so
and
all insurance companies aren't created equal?
No, I'm gonna address that exactly, because you are a small insurance company that can really work one-on-one with people. I had an insurance policy by a major insurance company. I never talked to my agent, and then I get a letter, your agent has left and we're assigning you a new agent, and I don't know who they are. I mean, I had very little contact with the original agent. And now I have a new agent that I don't know who they are and don't know me or have any history with me. When coming from an agency like yours, where you guys are hands-on, white glove with every single person is a person, not just a number on some giant server somewhere.
Yeah, we're family owned and operated. My mother-in-law, her uncle opened the agency in '63. My mother-in-law's has owned it since '92. When I see a file, I can look through all of our files. I know every name in there. It's that's the one thing you get when you work with us, is that one-on-one experience.
Wow, and that's so important, because because sometimes you find yourself in a predicament where you have a question, and you know how it goes. 1-800 I don't pick up, right? So you call it. Yeah, right. Exactly. I call it the 1-800 I don't pick up. You call a number, they go, press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. You press 1. Would you like to speak to an agent, or would you like to do this, and you click I'd like to speak to an agent. I'm sorry, we
all agents are busy this time.
I get the ones like, you put the first 3 letters of the agent's last name. I don't remember, and you can't get out of that loop. So it's like, how do you reach an agent that you don't remember the last 3 letters of their name because they switched 4 times?
And there's not even an emergency button you can press. Like, I have no clue what you're asking me right now, and you're getting frustrated. And then by the time somebody picks up, you are ready to tear their heads off.
Right.
You're like,
yeah, if you're calling your agent, typically it might be something good, but if it's a claim, you're already in a high stress environment, right?
Right.
Something has gone wrong. You need somebody that can reassure you when they pick up the line.
I mean, that's the key. Someone needs to pick up the line. You don't want to go through the phone tree while you're trying to, put out the fire with a hose and call your agent at the same time.
Like, 911. Hello, my agent. Can I help you? Yeah. Hold on. I have my agent on the line. I think I have my agent on the line.
We have an active fire situation going on. Quick, look.
Yeah. What are some of the situations you run into, Chris, where people don't have renter's insurance? Let's say we have that person that's listening and they're like, well, they just want my money. They're really not they're really not interested in my safety. They just want me to sign up for something, right? What are some of the things you've heard of where people don't have that insurance? What happens then?
They lose everything. I mean, in a nutshell, I knew somebody. There was a big fire like 2 or 3 years ago on Warburton Avenue in Yonkers. It's a 5-story building. The fire started in one apartment, and it quickly got out of control, and the entire building was like brought down to rubble.
Wow.
I knew somebody in the apartment that they were in their early 20s. They didn't think they needed insurance. They didn't think they had anything until they lost everything they owned. And then they realized I lost everything.
Wow.
So is it likely? No, but I'm not going to roll the dice on that.
Yeah.
And I get that. I get that all the time. People say, oh, I had my identity stolen. What do I do? I don't know. What do you do? Because at this point, you can't buy, like I keep saying, you can't buy collision insurance after you hit a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That needs to be in place so they know what your belongings are. They know how much it costs. They know how to replace it. If you're going to respond, that's the way you do it. If you're going to react, it's like, I don't know. And like Chris says, you start from scratch. You lost everything.
Right. And I mean, just to give people an idea, a renter's insurance policy, on average, it's going to fluctuate, but on average, you're looking around $200 a year. You're talking less than $20 a month. And I guarantee you, everybody has one of these, and they probably insure it. And that's just a phone. Like,
and that will be covered.
Right. And what about everything else? You pay insurance for a phone, but not everything else that you own?
Wow.
Here's the idea.
That's a very good point. Very good point.
Use that phone that's insured to insure everything else in your apartment.
Right.
So, some people love their phone more than their kids. So
that's a whole nother topic.
So they're like, hey, my phone needs insurance.
Right.
Has half my life stored in there.
Right.
My kid could probably grow another arm. It's just a matter of time.
Toughen up, kid. That's life. That's life.
Sorry, Lefty.
Chris, how do folks reach out to you, man? Tell us how we can get in touch.
All right. So office phone number, you can reach me as 914-968-1344. You can see Wasiczko Agency there in the background. So it's wasiczkoagency.com or chris@wasiczkoagency.com is my email address.
Awesome.
Feel free to reach out. And if anybody wants an insurance policy review or a quote, it's free of charge. I'll go over, make sure that we quote it properly. And at the end of the day, it's up to you, but I'll provide all the information you need.
And that's what we talked about last time. Your superpower is reading insurance policies, 60, 70, 80 pages worth, and saying, it's not what you think you bought.
Right. Making sure you're covered for what you have. All right.
I hear music. Bill?
My bad.
This will go into the editing.
Things started going like, I'm like, oh, what? Wait a minute.
The beauty of a live show.
I love it, man. I love it. Man, listen, Chris, we are very excited. Very grateful that you are able to come on today and talk about renters insurance. I believe that we, at some point, we want to talk about nonprofit. I think that's going to be one of our next subjects. So since we're going to be broadcasting for the next few weeks. And if you are available, we can actually do that subject again
Definitely.
in another week. What do you think about that?
I would be more than honored to be on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. For those of you who are interested in that subject, you can reach out to us by downloading our app, the Phoenix National Network app, on any platform, whether it be Android or Apple. And you can actually meet a lot of our small business people on there as well. So our entrepreneurs on there. So you want to download the app right now today. It's a Phoenix National Network app. And you'll see a lot of the different features, a lot of the programs. If you've missed last week's program, you really don't want to miss information that was given there as well. So he touched a little bit on that. So you want to get some more information, you can go back to last week just by downloading the app. Again, it's Phoenix National Networking app. All right, Chris, thank you again, my friend. Oscar, all is well. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.